Hey fans, oh my gosh, it's been forever. Anyway, I got this Lexus Gx470 and it's battle warm. Boom, smash up, crash up. But today we're going to look at the power steering fluid reservoir that needs to be replaced. Let me show you more. If you haven't changed your power steering fluid reservoir, you should, and here's why. So take a look at this. Let's see how much do we have in this thing. It looks like it's about full, except that there's nothing in it. It's totally empty, and look at that. Boom! The inside of this thing is totally stained with some old fluid, so we're gonna swap this thing out. We're gonna swap out the fluid reservoir, and I understand there may be a filter inside here. So once I've got this thing all done, I'm going to cut it up and show you what's in inside this thing. First of all, this vehicle's in the midst of some refurbishment, we'll call it. Refurbishment. Good enough. Anyway, this line here that's behind the bumper, this line here that comes all the way across and down and over here, this is part of your power steering system. So what I did was, since I already had this here, you could take it apart either on the passenger side or on this side, on the driver's side. And what I did was I took this apart, and this is where I drained the power steering fluid from. I got a set of these hose clamps from Sears. They were just a Craftsman item, and basically you slide this onto the hose like so. Let's see, like so. Slide it onto the hose, clamp it down, and then slide this ring back. And you can see these are kind of dull jaws here, so they don't cut into the hose, but they apply enough pressure to seal it off so that you don't leak fluid. Anyway, kind of a neat tool. I recommend them. They're pretty cheap and pretty handy. Alright, so whenever possible, I like to use my driver and then use an attachment for it for my sockets. And if you'll check this guy out here, it is actually a wobble head, I think is what they call it. What that does, it just lets me get, you know, sort of in the neighborhood when I'm trying to take these screws out. And I'll show you this because it takes three 12 millimeter bolts to keep this guy in place. Open this package up. And what's in the box? It is another box. Another receipt. Alright. I hope this just isn't a smaller and smaller box as we go. Ugh. Oh, I gotta open it the correct way. Look at that. That just got a little easier. So it already has the bracket in place, and I think this bracket is actually lighter in weight than the existing one. Anyway, so here we go. Look at that. You can actually see through the reservoir, which is nice. What a difference it makes. You'll clearly be able to tell if you've got fluid in here. So now this thing is ready to go in place. 3 bolts to get this guy in. Put him in place. Get him down where there needs to be. And the other one's over here still. Alright. Get those things in place with my handy dandy driver. Done. 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 How fast was that? So, it's already in place. Now I just need to slide these guys on here. Alright, now this guy's in place. We gotta figure out something to do over here, right? So, probably put this clamp on here. Make sure this thing is capped off. This is the metal side. If you had another piece of hose, you could stick it on there and then clamp off that other hose. What I'll do is I'll connect those hoses, fill up the reservoir, and then open these up and let the let the let the old fluid start to drain out into my pan. We've got the new reservoir in place. We gotta slide these hoses on. Let's get this bigger guy on. Those guys are in. Just in case you were wondering, this is the replacement that I got here. You can see that. I filled it up just as much as I can, and then I'm gonna come over here and we'll take this clamp off of this hose, and we'll see if we can get some fluid to start running through here. And I'll go ahead and take this one off here as well. See what happens with that. While you've got the system open and you've got that new reservoir topped off, turn the wheel to bleed out all that old fluid. That will help. That just helps get all that stuff out of the steering rack. Here we are, it's been a few minutes, and you can see it's coming out a little lighter. It's a little easier to tell once we look down here into the pan. You can still see contaminants in the fluid, but it is coming out a little with a little more clear fluid. Alright, so I've got the fluid in here, and I've got it, you can see I've got it between cold, minimum, and maximum, and the fluid is nice and clear. I've reconnected the hose down below, which I'm sure there's some air in the system, so once I start it back up, the fluid level may drop some, and I'll have to add some, and then I can almost guarantee this color is there will be some darker color than this to finish it out. Okay, here we go. Here's the existing one. I've gone ahead and used my Dremel tool to cut this apart. So let's take and break this lid off here. And if you look in here, there is a screen. This is a screen right here that will filter out the contaminants. For filtering out those contaminants in there. So, in your power steering fluid. So, this one looks pretty terrible. Looks pretty terrible in here. You can see all this goo. So, you know, I would say that replacing this guy is definitely a maintenance item, not just something you do when it becomes discolored like this. Hey, thanks for sticking with me through this project. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment if you have anything to say. And stick with me because I've got more stuff to go on this thing. Thanks. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.